thank you very much for the opportunity to be here with you. Thanks to the organizers and thanks to you also for already a very rich and interesting dialogue or debate. The challenge we have is pretty impossible, which is to say a few words about some of the key challenges that we have for post-2015. But I will try to do my best in 5 minutes to share with you some of the discussions that we've had in the UN, both in terms of the issues, that is the content, possible content of the post-2015 development agenda, and in terms of the process. One of the points of, perhaps an announcement that was already made by Kate, in the sense that the Secretary General last year, at the end of last year, requested the UN system to work together to start thinking about the post-2015. So what we have here, and this webpage that you may want to visit because there is a lot of material already on UN thinking about the post-2015. What we have done is to come together 60 UN organizations and other international organizations, including Bretton Woods, the World Bank, the IMF, WTO, etc. We have come together to think about what could be some of the challenges and possible contours of a post-2015 agenda, with the idea of providing some early inputs into this larger debate that is already taking place. And this is the report that we prepared that has been already announced by Kate. What is the point of departure of this thinking? Our point of departure, as was mentioned by our previous panelists, is development is a pretty complex process. It is a long-term process that takes place in the countries that is shaped by public policies vis-a-vis the citizens of those countries. So we are not intending that the post-2015 agenda is going to be the full development agenda. We are intending that it hopefully will provide some guidance, identify some priorities that can help countries and cities in the world to build a better future. Having said that, we identify some mega trends that are taking place in this more and more interrelated world, and that will require global action. We have increasing inequalities both between countries and within countries. We have pretty large, fast-growing trends towards environmental degradation, big issues there. We have population dynamics that are going pretty fast and will challenge our capacities to respond to the challenges of a growing population, aging, creation of jobs for young people, etc. And we have very serious gaps in terms of peace and security and governance issues. All these will require global actions, and it is the hope that a future agenda, post-2015 agenda, will be able to at least start addressing and identifying those issues and providing some guiding principles and useful resources, a global compact to start addressing those issues. You have in your folders one chart that probably summarizes some of the thinking that has taken place in within the UN and that is reflected in this report. And in this chart with 4 colored bubbles, we have identified 4 areas where a global development agenda may want to say something. And this is questions of inclusive economic development, inclusive social development, environmental sustainability, and issues of peace and security. These are these huge areas where globally policymakers, citizens will have to do something, will have to be addressed. These are areas where people involved in these discussions may want to start thinking about how to, or what could be possible goals, possible targets to deal with these mega challenges. But there is also a set of enablers, and you have them here as squares around these bubbles, which will provide or will not provide the enabling environment to build more inclusive societies, more inclusive economic growth, and so on. And that refers to policies, both national and global policies. We need a well-functioning trading system if we are to provide space for countries to do their own development. We will need to have some minimum rules of engagement in terms of access and use to natural resources. We will have to come up with some general rules about how we're going to dispose from our pollution, waste, etc. So these are enablers that involve policy decisions, both at the national and the global level, that will have to be part of a global agenda, not in the sense of becoming a prescriptive agenda, but in the sense of defining a set of guiding principles, guiding issues that will have to be put in place in order to achieve more inclusive societies from the social, economic, environmental point of view. We believe that a framework with these characteristics, not necessarily represented in these four bubbles and policy enablers, where some thinking around these issues may be helpful to start identifying the way forward. And we believe that there are three principles future agenda can be guided by, and those are human rights, equality, and sustainability. That could be principles that could usefully guide decisions in the future. What should be, or what could be the characteristics of a global agenda? Obviously, we don't need an over-prescriptive agenda, right? We don't need governments, we don't need to tell governments what to do and citizens what to request from their governments. We want to provide some principles, some policy guidance, but we don't want a prescriptive agenda. We do want an inspirational agenda. We want an agenda that will help identify the vision of the world that we want in the next 25, 30 years, 50 years, a vision of development. We want to build a global compact around a set of priorities. Development is a very complex process. We don't want an agenda that is a list of all the things that need to be done. When you have 100 items in one agenda, you have no priorities anymore. We want something that will be inspirational, but will also but that is not a Christmas tree type of agenda. So you don't want something that is oversimplified, but you don't want something that is overwhelming and that does not define a direction of where to go. In terms, do I have 1 more minute? In terms of process, Kate already described the many processes, and you have another very useful chart here, the many processes that are taking place around the world with a broad participation from stakeholders, which is completely different to what we had with the MDGs. Nowadays, everyone wants to participate and wants to say something, and this is very good. The challenge is going to be how to bring all this information, all these pieces, all these visions, all these aspirations of people, how to bring them together into a global development agenda that will make sense and will help to guide the future. Within the UN, we have mainly two big processes going on. One is the overall discussion on post-2015, which was mandated by member states in 2010 during the MDG summit. And the second one is the SDG process, which is just very recently agreed upon in Rio, where we have 30 member states leading the discussion about the possible agendas, possible goals possible sustainable development goals. We all agree at the end of the day, all governments, all stakeholders agree at the end of the day, we want to have one UN development agenda. How to get there with participation from this broad range of stakeholders is getting to be a big challenge. But I think that we are in a good direction in the sense that there is so much interest about these issues taking place all around the world and with all different constituencies.